Okay, so in this video, you will learn about how to prepare and implement a successful website migration. So this is a complex task, more advanced task, and it can really go very wrong if you don't do it properly. That's why you definitely need to watch this video because I have like done tens of migrations and I will be sharing here like the best practices, the best tips you have to know about to make sure your migration is successful. So first, there we need to you need to know that there are different types of migrations. Migration is, for example, a site move when you are using to when you are going when you are changing the URL. So the site basically stays the same. You are simply migrating to a new domain. There is also a different type of migration, which is like simply when you're changing the platform, the CMS, or when you are doing a redesign. So your domain stays the same, but you are simply changing the way your site looks. And of course, there can be like a migration when you both change the design and you change the URL, which is probably the hardest. Will be the hardest and the one that has the most risk. And another thing you need to know, each migration can can result in a traffic drop. And your task as an SEO is to make sure you decrease the chances of a ranking drop as much as possible by avoiding common mistakes when it comes to site migrations. So how do you go about it? So the first step you need to do is you need to crawl the old site. So the way to go is to use Screwing Frog or Sitebulb. You simply crawl the site, and you crawl the site, and you will then export all those HTML pages into a separate file. I recommend crawling the site with different crawlers, also using the XML sitemap if the site has to be sure that you actually has the full list of all pages that the site has, that you haven't like omitted anything. The next step is, as I said, to export to a separate spreadsheet. For example, you can use a Google spreadsheet, or you can use like Excel. You need to have all those pages in one spreadsheet, and this is like your basis. And another thing to do, the next thing to do, is to export all the data regarding rankings and traffic. So the way I do it, I export the data from Google Analytics about clicks and keywords. I export data from GSC. I export data from Google Analytics about, especially about traffic, from Google Search Console. Of course, you need to know that these are different tools, and GSC is only showing you organic traffic, while GA is showing you also different types of traffic. And you definitely want to know what pages have traffic, because traffic is basically money. I also use Ahrefs. Ahrefs, I simply export all the keyword data like you have here. You just click export, and the data regarding keywords will be exported, and I will simply have it in a spreadsheet. Then I combine all these types of data into one spreadsheet. So in one spreadsheet, I have the data about for what keywords a specific page ranks, how much traffic this page is getting, how much organic traffic. And I want to make sure that all those valuable pages that actually rank for something will not be like omitted or forgotten in a different on a new site. Because I had a many times a situation when there was a site which was doing relatively okay, and then there was like migration, like redesign, and the person who was choosing like what pages to keep, what pages to remove, had like no clue about SEO, and they weren't even looking at tools like GSCGA. So They said, oh, this page is useless, let's remove it, let's add a new one. This one, let's remove this one, let's redirect this one, because no one's probably checking them. And then like the traffic tanked because actually people were coming to those pages. So your awareness at this pre-migration stage, your awareness of what's ranking, what's doing well, what's receiving traffic is like vital. And of course, what pages have links, because you don't want to like return 404 on a page that, for example, has like some awesome links. You probably want to at least redirect that page to a different page and help transfer some of that authority to that page. So once you have created your spreadsheet with all URLs, rankings, keywords, traffic, links, you simply need to like review it. And you can, for example, what I also do, you can add a column which says desired action, and then you can say, okay, so the desired action for that page is like to keep it or to redirect it. You can do it like this. For example, you can insert. Okay, so you can do it like, let's insert it here, like desired action. And okay, so this one is to keep, or you can just simply add, for example, desired status code 200. This one is going to be redirected, so 301. And here in the next column, you will add the information that where do you want to redirect that specific page. So 301, and let's say I want to redirect it to, and I type the domain and like where do I redirect it? So, and this stage will help you both like decide what to do with specific pages, and this will also help you create. You will also have like the map of redirects for your new site. The next stage is to crawl the staging site. Assuming that you have one, you probably want to have one, and in most cases, you have to have one. So you crawl the staging site, you do the same, you extract all the pages from it, and now you simply add another column here which says staging URL, and you make sure everything is mapped out. So here staging URL, for example, staging URL, and you want to make sure that those staging URLs are mapped here. And when you see, like for example, that this page is not reflected in the staging site, you check, okay, this page has traffic, so we probably forgot to edit here, so we want to edit, or this page is not reflected, but it's like a dead page, old, so let's redirect it. So this is like the way, by doing that you ensure that you won't, maybe not ensure, but you are making almost sure that you won't lose traffic, or you won't like kill your site, because without doing that, not doing that is a recipe for killing a site, basically. And once everything is done, you simply finalize the redirects map and implement the redirects. You can probably, the easiest way is to do it in htaccess file. You launch the site, and right after the launch, ideally you want to launch the new site at night or over the weekend, so in case something crashes, you like there aren't like a million people trying to buy your product. So you do it during those hours, those days where like you are sure there will be few people on your site, and immediately after launching you do a crawl, and you want to crawl all those URLs, that original URLs, to make sure that you crawl like the new site, but you also can like crawl the list of URLs to make sure that those redirects are actually working, and to check if there are some 404s on your site. And this is basically it. This is a complex process. It requires a lot of attention, a lot of effort, a lot of analysis, especially if it is a huge site. You probably need to spend a lot of time doing that, making sure it's done correctly. And here are a few considerations. So you need to be aware that every time you change something on your site, there is a chance your site will drop. The rankings will drop. They may, of course, go up, but they may as well go down. So that's the risk you have to accept. Whether whenever you are changing the URL, changing the domain, changing the structure of your site, changing the design. In the case of changing the design, very often you also change the structure of the site changes. For example, internal links change because the designer now designed it in a different way. Some links have been removed, some content has been removed. And if that's the case, again, you are increasing the chances of of decreasing your rankings after that migration. Every change can change rankings. So this is something you need to remember. But you can also use migration as an opportunity to improve your site. So I've done some of the migrations I used in a way to improve the site. So I made sure that all the content that there was has been, of course, moved over to the new site. But I, for example, checked what pages rank, for example, on the second page of Google or the third page of Google for some keywords that are actually like worth targeting. So in the case of those pages, I selected like 20 top pages to optimize. I optimized them for those keywords. I made sure the content is longer, more in depth. I added a few headings, different headings, images. And in the case of that migration, the site went up like crazy. So you can, if you put more effort, you can definitely make sure the migration is successful. But but you have to put a lot of really a lot of effort and analysis into it. So that's my take on migration. As an exercise, I recommend you simply crawl your site. You extract all the URLs. You can also extract all the information about the rankings, and you create a spreadsheet with all your URLs, all your keywords, traffic. So you have like this I call it mission center, when you have all the most important information about your site in this spreadsheet, and you can use it to update content or to do a migration, of course, if you in the future decide to do a migration or any serious change to your site. I hope that helped, and I hope your next migration will be a successful one. Good luck.